We have a 17-year-old maker artist inspiration, CamDAX. Some of you might have seen his Tesla coils in the other room. And he's also, I just learned this by reading your bio, you're also helping at the Hacker Scouts program. Take it away.
Just wait for my PowerPoint to get up here in a second. Alright, so I'm CamDAX. I'm a 17-year-old maker and artist in the San Francisco East Bay. Right, that's complicated. So I got a lot to talk about, so I'm just right into it. So I'm going to tell you a story from when I was 2. So my mom was doing her dishes, and I was in my playroom playing around, and my mom came to check in on me and found my toy tractor completely taken apart. Irritated at my dad for leaving it like that. She put it back together as I watched. And this wasn't a toy that was meant to be taken apart. It was put together with Torx screwdrivers. That's the screwdriver bit you see on the far left. It's not supposed to be taken apart. And so she went back to her chores and again came back and found it taken apart yet again. Surprised and a little irritated, she called my dad and found out he'd never taken it apart in the first place. So this means by the time I was 2, I knew the difference between a Torx screwdriver and a Phillips screwdriver. A few years later, when I was 6, you guys know those toy cell phones? The kids, they like run off watch batteries or AA's or something. So you push buttons on them and they like dial or ring. I got some AV cables, the kind you use, hook up with like a VCR to the TV, and I stripped one end of them, hooked it up to the VCR, and shoved the strip leads into the battery compartment of the toy phone, and the toy phone started to ring. I don't know how it worked, how that happened exactly. I'd have to find a toy phone just like it, but yeah. So I've been messing around with stuff for a while. So at that point, I had mainly just been doing art with a hot glue gun, 8 cartons and stuff like that. And I started getting it. I got into Cub Scouts. I learned about it through my elementary school. There's some kids there talking about it. And if you've ever been to a scout store, which is where you get stuff for your project for earning badges and stuff for Cub Scouts, they have kits there. Not very many electronics kits, and they're really super simple electronics kits, no soldering involved. This was my first electronics kit I actually put together. That's the actual one, not the same exact one, but that's the actual kit that I had. You take the components and wrap it around springs. Yeah, it's not the best photo. Google's not the best at finding exactly what you want. But anyways, so a few years after that, me and my mom were remodeling our house, and we were putting hardwood floors in and painting, doing electrical work and stuff like that. And on the way to the paint store, we ran into a model train store. And after we got our paint, we went to the train store and got a train set. That's how I got into model trains. If you're a model railroader, you know one of the best magazines to read is Model Railroader. So I was at Barnes & Noble's one time, and I'm reading Model Railroader, and I decided to look at the other magazines because they looked pretty interesting, Maximum PC, for example. And I found this one that had a really colorful cover called Make. Now I'm sure you all know Make magazine. The issue I actually got had an article about the first Maker Faire, which was in 2006. And so I had been learning about it and thought, oh, that's a neat thing. Yeah. And then one year, I decided I wanted to go, and a friend of mine, he invited me to go with him, and it was like a slingshot for my brain. I got kits at the Maker Shed and built them. Amazing. I took everything up I could that I saw there. I I say I had truly found the fast track to real deal making. So, you may be wondering where I do all my making. It's my bedroom. I don't call it my workshop, I don't call it my bedroom, I call it my lab. It's not a wood shop, so it's not a workshop, it's nothing like that. I call it my lab because basically there's almost always 250,000 volts being discharged in the air in there. It shuts off the Wi-Fi at the house. So no Netflix for the parents when I'm doing that. So as you can see here, I got my laptop and my second monitor for the laptop. Next to that, you can't quite see it, but I have some projects throughout there. There's my Spark Art generator next to this monitor. Blue bins over here. There's a toy keyboard that I circuit bent there. Basically, just going to do a 360 kind of turn of the whole room. Yeah, it's messy, but I know where everything is. Down here is my one of my current projects. It's USB MIDI drums. And then those white drawers, that's my clothes, of course. And on top of there is some of my Tesla coil, my audio modulated solid state Tesla coil. And then there's various projects like there's a Lego 4-cylinder engine there. Here's my computer desk, dual monitors, the Hackintosh. So if you don't know what Hackintosh is, basically it's PC hardware that's been modified to run Mac OS X. So I have Mac OS X Snow Leopard and Windows 7 on there, and I can use up to 3 monitors. I use my flat screen sometimes for helping out with games and stuff. And on the right here, you see my closet. I got bigger stuff in there that I'm going to take apart, like printers, etc. I have 2 robotic arm kits in there that I have yet to put together. Really cheap robotic arm kits, but they can do stuff. So I have one of my Tesla coils there, pianos, and then this is my inspiration. I am my own inspiration besides Maker Faire and the internet. So basically, I just put up whatever artwork of mine that I love. It helps inspire me. My wall has actually changed. I am taking a black and white photography class, so on the right here I have some black and white prints that I've done. So, moving on, I have many tools that I love to use, but here are mainly the ones: my multimeter, blowtorch, butane soldering iron, wire strippers. I really love the grip on, and my TV oscilloscope. That's actually a portable television that I modified to be a TV oscilloscope. So you may be wondering, what do I make? Basically, I make anything that I think is really cool. So Tesla coils, quadcopter, kind of 8-bit video game systems. On the top right there, that's my Super Nintenduino. It's got a LED screen that you can play games on. I have like a Snake and Space Invaders programmed into it right now that I programmed from scratch myself. The top right there, that's my Spark Gap Tesla coil with one of my lightning sculptures. A lot of people play around with Tesla coils, but they don't actually do anything else, play music and stuff like that. So I actually make sculptures, and I'm working on a game right now, I'll tell you about it a little later, that I like to put on top of the Tesla coil. So here in the upper right, the up middle, is my audio modulated coil. I had that here today, saw that. So my mentor has always been my mom. She's in the audience. So for a year in 2011, I taught my friends electronics, and we called it BAYTECH, Bay Area Teen Electric Club, group of homeschoolers. In 2012, we stopped doing that, and now I help out at Ace Monster Toys Hacker Scouts, Guild 1. So, and now my current project for Maker Faire 2013 is called TARDIS Tesla. And what TARDIS Tesla is if you don't know the TV show Doctor Who, it's a British TV show. And so in it, the main character has a time machine / spaceship called a TARDIS. That's a TARDIS in the center you see here. And so basically there's going to be a TARDIS and 2 8-feet tall coils. And this is a concept I did in a video game called Gary's Mod. So these coils are actually a little bit taller than the ones I'm going to be building. They're going to be exactly about the same height as TARDIS, the roof, not the light roof. And so basically, there's two players who each have a sonic screwdriver. What a sonic screwdriver is it's the tool the main character in Doctor Who uses. And so basically, they're going to play a game of bulls and cows. And what that game is there's a secret sequence of commands you have to figure out. So right now, it's a secret sequence of characters. Some other games use like colors. So like I have it assigned, so like up is A, down is B, and the button back twice is C. So let's say the secret sequence is ABC. I'll try B, and my coil, let's say I'm on here on the right, and the person I'm playing against is up there on the left. So I'm controlling this coil, so I enter in B, and my coil will shoot a bolt of lightning to the TARDIS. And it'll be a low note since it's wrong, since it's incorrect. And then I try A, and since it's correct, it's going to be a high note saying it's correct. So I know, and I can figure out what the secret sequence is, and hopefully win. Once the player wins, they actually get to pick a song to put on coil. So you may be wondering, how do I pay for everything? I don't have a job. So basically, I just work off of funding from people who come and see my stuff. If you'd like to find more information about my stuff, you can go to CamDAX.com. There's also a link off of there to my funding page. It's at GoFundMe. So yeah, that's what I do.
Well, thanks, all you makers. Why doesn't everyone come up? We're going to do some Q&A up here. That was a fantastic set of presentations. Super inspiring. And for those of you who have been storing your questions, this is an opportunity to ask these makers. Anyone with the first question? Any young makers with the first question? Shall we start it off? Is there one? How about we just shout it out, and I'll repeat it in the mic. Go ahead, way back there. I know he has a question. All right. Anyone up front? Go ahead.
When did the small when did they learn about Maker?
When did Elsa and Annabelle first know about Maker Faire?
We first learned about it when we got into it with our family. I think, last year. So they just went to it because we make mutants and art and stuff, so they wanted to check it out. And then so that was around the time that the Lawrence Hall of Science first asked us.
Being a maker my first time. Exhibiting, you're saying? Well, it definitely shows me what I knew all along that I need to do more of, is basically hands-on stuff. People really love hands-on stuff, and really that's the best way to learn, I think.
So I first heard about it when I moved out to California about 2 years ago. I heard about it and I was like, wow, these people must have been working on these projects for years. This is so crazy, and I could never be there. And then a year later, we brought our toy there. So it was pretty exciting. Our first experience was we were in our booth pretty much the whole time because there were so many kids coming. We didn't get a chance to walk around. But definitely this year, we're going to have a booth, but we're also going to make sure that we get to see what everyone else brought. That was, I think, the biggest thing.
Maker Faire is really cool if you guys haven't been. It's huge. There's like 80,000 people that go. It's just really cool to see what other people made there.
Yeah, so just I guess 2 years ago, the Maker Faire was the first time I'd actually gone because I was out of state all the time, and I don't know. So I brought this robot, and when I was just walking around with this, I couldn't get more than 5 feet without like people just stopping me and asking me about it. And so a big thing that I took away from that was, you gotta take some time and actually go see everything else, and then you can take out your distracting things, because otherwise, there's so much amazing stuff out there that, you gotta, as a maker, go see what other people are doing too.
Sorry, this is CamDAX. I am fascinated by this TARDIS project as a British and an avid Doctor Who fan. Are you actually? So are you building a TARDIS as well? Are you going to try and do any relative space, time, dimension stuff with that, or?
Musical mics. So yeah, I'm going to be building it from scratch, basically. I'm probably going to use the replica prop form for some advice. I actually found specs. There's specs all over the internet for measurements of the Tesla coil. Sorry, not Tesla, TARDIS. So the coils might actually transport it a little bit into time. So who knows? Maybe some lasers might help with that too. So smoke and mirrors.
Any other questions up there? Go ahead, I'll repeat it. Elsa and Annabelle, what kind of tools do you use, and what are your methods for taking the tools apart?
So we use garden shears to hack them apart, and then if it's harder plastic, we use saws, and then to put them back together, we use hot glue, which works pretty well. And we've been starting this new thing where to put them together so it doesn't fall apart. That the maker, I mean, the where sometimes when we sell them, little kids just come up and break them because they're easily breakable. So we started doing this thing where we get wire and put it over a candle, and then so it gets really hot, and we put the wire in the plastic, and we can make little joints like that because when it hardens, it's really hard. So like it's really hard to break. Like you can throw it down, it won't break. So that's what we're doing so far.
Question up here, back up here. Okay, CamDAX programming. Where'd it come from? How'd you learn it?
So I actually took a class on HTML, which is, for those of you who don't know HTML, it's a program for designing websites. Basically, every website you see has HTML code behind it. Nowadays, they usually use programs to help them generate the HTML code. My website, I actually code from scratch, just because I like code a little bit too much. But after that, I kind of just learned every other language, whatever language I needed. So like after that, I think I went from HTML to Python and a little bit of PHP to enhance my websites. And after Python, I think I went to Arduino programming, which is based on the wiring language. And pretty much I just Googled pretty much after HTML. And the class was very vague a bit, so I kind of, after that, found websites, read more about it. So.
Creation request. Does it actually work?
That is actually a good question. The answer is no. Or at least not right now. I have to actually do a bunch of stuff, and this guy doesn't even have his battery. But we will be actually playing with these in Hacker Scouts, so we'll definitely have a Sunday when these guys are running around.
Great. How about a question for Jade? Does anybody have a question for Jade? I do. I really want to know, do you really play at work? Is it really about play at work, or is it more worky work?
I've been in school for the last 32 years. So I don't know if you mean since I got out of school, which
Yeah,
really
Intel.
happened
Intel.
6 months ago,
Okay.
full time. So I don't even know what's going on. But like yesterday until midnight, I was sorting LEDs and preparing watch batteries and ordering things from Amazon. That was pretty regular. I'd say it part fun, part hard work.
Yeah.
Um,
You don't get up and just punch a time clock for Intel and like start at your table at a certain time. And what's it like to be a professional maker researcher?
well, nobody really knows the answer to that, but I think we're all going to find out together in the next 5 years. There's going to be a lot of us. But I just, like, I play half the time, and then the other half the time I'm like, oh crap, I just played for the last half of the day, so I have to hurry up and work twice as hard. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll ask me again in like 2 years when I'm like learning how to be a grown up. I'm like, oh crap, you have to like pay rent and live in a house. This is really crazy.
Anyone else back there? Makers, your thoughts about parents' advice for those of us.
So something my mom always said was, if you don't have it, make it. So she would make furniture all the time. She'd be like, we need a bookcase that is this high. So she'd just go downstairs and make it.
Something that has actually stuck with me for a very long time. When I was growing up, I would always be like asking my dad, like, "Oh, how do you do this? How do you do this?" And at some point, he's just like, "Pretend I'm not here and just figure it out on your own." And although you're like, "Ah, that's not very nice," but actually, it was the best advice he ever gave me. It's just like, if you don't know how to do it, go figure it out. Like the resources are out there. And it's up to you. And
Let your kids blow up the house. No, not literally. Just let them use the computer, the internet, get them magazines, anything about what they're interested in. Let them explore their passions.
I'd like to thank my dad because he's been a big influence on me by he's also an artist, so when I was little, I immediately saw him, and of course I'm like, oh, I want to be exactly like him. So I started copying him since I was born, and then from that I just made some other things, and then he's been helping me just make a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Jay.
I would say that I try to do stuff that I think is really fun, and in front of and in the presence of my son, because I don't think people really listen when you talk. They more just watch what you are doing, and then they absorb that, right? Like they copy that idea to the root of their like soul of what they believe. Let's like be the change kind of a thing. People really are listening, not with their ears, but for real when they watch what you do.
They do what you do, not what you say. Anyone else? Question? Might be wrapping up. One more. The pressure's on. Way back there. So, did you have one with the blue? A new invention? What did you say? A new creation. Something that you're thinking about that's never been invented or created. Like anything going on in your mind. Somebody's got an answer.
I think we're always all doing that. Like just a few months ago, I came up with, I call it CD drive dominoes. I just wanted was tinkering with CD drives. I had gotten a whole bunch of CD drives. Somebody gave them to me for free, and I was like, what would I get? So eventually I realized, I wonder what it'd be like if I made it so that when one CD drive opens, it triggers the next one to open. And then it just goes down the line of many CD drives as I could put. So I actually, that's what I did.
Well, I probably shouldn't say this because my company is going to try to put it out, but oh well. I'm going to try to make coloring book photography. I can talk to you more about that after.
Actually, I want to address the question as it was asked. You actually don't ever worry about anyone like that someone might steal this because this is an idea that no one has ever come up with before. So many times, basically almost anything you think of, there are probably people who've thought of it before. The real thing is, can you be the one who actually does it and makes it into reality? Because that's the important thing you should be thinking about.
Side note about that, one of my ideas was actually keyboard pants, Bluetooth keyboard on your pants. So if you never have a keyboard for your cell phone. Somebody actually started making that shortly after I had the idea and selling it. So it's a race, yeah.
When you make something, though, it's never the same as what someone else made. At my school at Media Lab, everybody is always like, okay, I have this idea. And there's this thing that sometimes people say to them, oh, so-and-so already did that idea. And then the person's like, oh, man, I can't do that anymore. But it's not true at all, because if you have an idea and you bring it into reality, it's not going to look anything like what the other guy made it like. You're going to make all these, probably 1,000 on average, design decisions along the way until you have what your idea was, and it won't even look like what you imagined to begin with. So almost any idea you could have is practically a brand new original idea, more often than not.
That's a really great place to stop. I want to thank these amazing people for coming and sharing their work with us. I hope you all will come to Maker Faire May 18th and 19th in San Mateo, and then also East Bay Mini Maker Faire October 13th here over there in Oakland. Thanks, everybody. See you next month.